Hello, history enthusiasts, time travelers, and knowledge seekers. Welcome to another journey back in time here on Backdrop History. Introduction. The tale of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table has captivated audiences for centuries. It is a story of chivalry, heroism, and medieval romance that has become deeply ingrained in Western culture. However, as a professional historian, it is my duty to examine the evidence and explore whether King Arthur was a historical figure or merely a product of legend and folklore. In this account, we will delve into the origins of the Arthurian legend, analyze historical records, and consider the ongoing debates among scholars to determine the veracity of the King Arthur story. Chapter 1: Early Celtic Sources. To grasp the origins of the Arthurian legend, a thorough examination of early Celtic literature is essential. Within this body of literature, the earliest references to Arthur can be traced back to Welsh texts, notably the Historia Brittonum and the Annals Cambriae. These texts provide some of the earliest glimpses into the figure known as Arthur, who purportedly led the Britons in their battles against the Saxon invaders during a tumultuous period in British history. The Historia Brittonum, attributed to the Welsh monk Nennius, is a historical compilation believed to have been written around the 9th century. It contains a brief mention of Arthur in the context of listing 12 battles in which he supposedly participated. However, the information provided about Arthur in the Historia Brittonum is sparse and lacks the elaborate details and romantic embellishments that would later become associated with the Arthurian legend. The narrative simply states that Arthur was a warrior who led the Britons against their enemies and emerged victorious in 12 significant conflicts. Similarly, that Annals Cambriae or the Welsh Annals is a chronicle of Welsh history thought to have been compiled around the 10th century. It contains several references to Arthur, again presenting him as a military leader engaged in battles against the Saxons. The entries in the Annals Cambriae briefly mention specific events, such as the Battle of Badon, where Arthur allegedly played a pivotal role. However, much like the Historia Brittonum, the Annals Cambriae provides little contextual information or vivid descriptions of Arthur's character or deeds. These early Celtic sources offer glimpses into a figure named Arthur, who appears as a military leader defending the Britons against Saxon invaders. The focus of these texts is primarily on Arthur's martial exploits rather than the mythological or romantic aspects that would come to define the later Arthurian legend. The brevity and lack of detailed descriptions in these early sources raise questions about the historical accuracy of the accounts, as they do not provide a comprehensive narrative or a broader understanding of Arthur's significance in the context of British history. It is important to note that the Arthurian legend, as it is commonly known today, did not take its familiar form until much later, particularly with the influence of Geoffrey of Monmouth's Historia Regum Britanniae in the 12th century. Geoffrey's work expanded upon the earlier Celtic sources, introducing magical elements, courtly romance, and the iconic figures of Merlin, Guinevere, and Lancelot, among others. Therefore, while the early Celtic sources provide the foundation for the Arthurian legend, they do not offer the same level of complexity or narrative richness that would emerge in later medieval texts. Chapter 2: Geoffrey of Monmouth and the Arthurian Myth. Geoffrey of Monmouth's Historia Regum Britanniae, History of the Kings of Britain, written in the 12th century, holds a significant place in the development and popularization of the Arthurian legend. It is within this work that King Arthur takes on the form and character that have captivated audiences for centuries, blending historical elements with mythological embellishments that have become synonymous with the Arthurian mythos. Historia Regum Britanniae presents itself as a comprehensive account of the kings of Britain, tracing their lineage from the mythical figure of Brutus to the early medieval period. Geoffrey claimed to have drawn upon ancient sources, including the writings of earlier British historians, which are no longer extant. However, the historical reliability of these sources has been a matter of scholarly scrutiny and debate. Geoffrey's portrayal of King Arthur within the Historia Regum Britanniae is central to the work's enduring legacy. In Geoffrey's narrative, Arthur emerges as a charismatic and heroic figure, embodying the values of chivalry, honor, and the defense of Britain against external threats. He is depicted as a warrior king who not only repels invasions but also establishes a golden age of peace and prosperity in the land. One of the most notable contributions of Geoffrey's work to the Arthurian legend is the inclusion of mythological and magical elements. Arthur's famed sword, Excalibur, which he receives from the Lady of the Lake, and the enigmatic wizard Merlin, who serves as Arthur's advisor and guide, are among the prominent additions that have become integral to the Arthurian mythos. These mythological elements add an air of enchantment and mystique to the story, elevating Arthur's character to a legendary status. Geoffrey's imaginative narrative also weaves together various episodes and adventures associated with Arthur, such as his battles against the Saxons and his quest for the Holy Grail. Through these tales, Geoffrey creates a tapestry of heroic exploits that further enhances the legendary status of King Arthur. It is essential to recognize that Geoffrey's work was not purely a historical account but a fusion of history, legend, and folklore. While he drew upon earlier sources and claimed to provide a factual account, his narrative also included imaginative embellishments and elements of literary invention. Geoffrey's intention was to shape a national history for Britain, promoting the lineage and glorious past of the British monarchy. In doing so, he elevated Arthur to the status of a mythical hero, a symbol of British identity and greatness. The impact of Geoffrey's Historia Regum Britanniae on the Arthurian legend cannot be overstated. His work served as a catalyst, inspiring subsequent writers, poets, and troubadours to expand upon and reinterpret the Arthurian myth. The Arthurian tales continued to evolve through the works of authors like Chrétien de Troyes and Sir Thomas Malory, who added their own creative flourishes and interpretations to the narrative. Chapter 3: Lack of contemporary documentation. One of the most significant obstacles facing historians seeking to ascertain the historical reality of King Arthur is the notable absence of contemporary written records. The traditional timeframe attributed to Arthur's reign, typically placed in the 5th or 6th century, coincides with a period of profound transition and turmoil in Britain, characterized by the decline of the Roman Empire and the influx of various Germanic tribes. This historical context poses a challenge to piecing together an accurate and comprehensive account of Arthur's existence. The dearth of contemporary documentation pertaining directly to Arthur can be attributed to several factors. Firstly, the collapse of Roman authority in Britain during the early 5th century resulted in a significant disruption in the administrative systems that had previously facilitated the production and preservation of written records. With the withdrawal of Roman officials and the subsequent fragmentation of political power, the production of official documents declined, and written records became more localized and sporadic. Secondly, the period following the Roman withdrawal witnessed a series of invasions and migrations by Germanic tribes, such as the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, who established their own kingdoms across the British Isles. The political and military upheaval associated with these events further contributed to the scarcity of written sources concerning Arthur. The attention of chroniclers and chroniclers themselves may have been directed primarily toward recording the exploits and genealogies of the incoming Germanic rulers, leaving little room for detailed accounts of Arthur's reign. Additionally, the nature of the early medieval society itself poses challenges to historical documentation. The majority of the population during this period was illiterate, and the transmission of historical accounts primarily relied on oral tradition. While oral tradition can preserve stories and legends, it tends to be less reliable and subject to alterations and embellishments over time. Consequently, relying solely on oral tradition for a figure like King Arthur can present difficulties in distinguishing historical facts from mythical or legendary elements. The fragmentary nature of the surviving written records from this period further compounds the challenge of assessing the historical accuracy of Arthurian accounts. The few contemporary sources that do exist, such as the early Welsh texts mentioned earlier, provide only brief and cursory mentions of Arthur, lacking the detailed narratives and embellishments that would later come to define the Arthurian legend. These texts often focus on specific battles or events without providing broader historical context or comprehensive biographical details. It is worth noting that the scarcity of contemporary written records does not definitively prove that Arthur did not exist or that his deeds were purely fictional. The absence of evidence should not be equated with evidence of absence. It is plausible that Arthur's historical significance and accomplishments may have been downplayed or overshadowed by the political and military events of the time, thereby resulting in a dearth of explicit references in surviving texts. Chapter 4: Arthur as a composite figure. One intriguing theory put forth by some historians is that the Arthurian legend may have emerged from the amalgamation of various historical figures. According to this perspective, the deeds and exploits attributed to King Arthur were not the product of a singular individual but rather the result of merging the accomplishments of multiple leaders who fought against the invading Saxons during the turbulent period of British history. The argument for Arthur as a composite figure rests on several factors. Firstly, the lack of contemporary documentation and the fragmentary nature of early medieval sources make it challenging to establish a definitive historical profile of a single King Arthur. The sparse mentions in the early Welsh texts and the absence of comprehensive narratives or detailed accounts contribute to the notion that the Arthurian legend might have been a composite construction developed over time. Secondly, the historical context of the 5th and 6th centuries in Britain was marked by the resistance of various British leaders against the encroaching Saxon invaders. It was a time of political fragmentation, with numerous regional kingdoms and chieftains vying for power and defending their territories. In this environment, it is plausible that the valorous deeds attributed to King Arthur were actually performed by different individuals, each making significant contributions to the fight against the Saxons. The composite figure theory suggests that over the course of oral transmission and the subsequent development of written accounts, the heroic exploits of these various leaders were gradually merged and attributed to a single figure, King Arthur. This process might have been influenced by the desire to create a cohesive national narrative and a unifying symbol of resistance against foreign invaders. The absence of a singular historical figure named Arthur in contemporary records supports the idea that the Arthurian legend could have evolved through the blending of different stories and historical episodes. It is important to note that similar processes of composite figures or amalgamation of historical personages have occurred in other legends and mythologies, reflecting the human tendency to create cohesive narratives and iconic figures. While the composite figure theory offers a compelling explanation for the development of the Arthurian legend, it is challenging to definitively identify the specific historical figures that may have contributed to the composite character of King Arthur. The lack of contemporary records and the subsequent layers of myth and legend make it difficult to disentangle the historical kernel from the fictional accretions. Nevertheless, the idea that Arthur could be a composite figure raises important questions about the nature of myth-making and the evolution of historical narratives. It emphasizes the role of cultural memory, collective imagination, and the desire to create an inspiring and unifying hero. The Arthurian legend, whether based on a single historical figure or the fusion of multiple individuals, has undeniably left an indelible mark on Western literature, art, and culture, reflecting the enduring appeal of tales of heroism, nobility, and the struggle against adversity. Chapter 5: Archaeological Evidence. Archaeology has played a crucial role in shedding light on the historical era associated with King Arthur. While the scarcity of written records poses challenges, archaeological excavations have provided valuable insights into the material culture and landscapes of the time. However, when it comes to directly linking specific sites to the Arthurian legend, the evidence remains inconclusive, and cautious interpretation is necessary. One of the most prominent sites that has been proposed as a possible location for Arthur's Camelot is Tintagel in Cornwall. This dramatic coastal site, with its imposing ruins of a medieval castle, has long captured the imagination and has been linked to Arthurian legends since the 12th century. Excavations conducted at Tintagel during the 20th and 21st centuries have revealed evidence of a high-status settlement dating back to the 5th and 6th centuries. The discovery of imported luxury goods, such as fine ceramics and glassware, suggests a place of wealth and importance. These findings, combined with the site's association with Arthur in medieval literature, have led some to speculate that Tintagel was the legendary Camelot. However, it is important to note that the excavated remains do not directly confirm the presence of King Arthur or the existence of Camelot. Similarly, Cadbury Castle in Somerset has also been proposed as a potential location for Arthur's Camelot. This large hill fort, with its extensive earthworks and commanding views over the surrounding landscape, has been associated with Arthur since the late 19th century. Excavations conducted at Cadbury Castle in the 20th century revealed evidence of occupation during the late Roman and early medieval periods. The discovery of a possible feast hall and evidence of high-status activity has fueled speculation about its connection to Arthurian legends. However, as with Tintagel, the direct link between Cadbury Castle and Arthur remains elusive. It is crucial to approach the interpretation of archaeological evidence concerning Arthur with caution. While these sites and their archaeological remains provide glimpses into the material culture and social dynamics of the time, they do not offer definitive proof of the Arthurian legend. The association of Tintagel and Cadbury Castle with Arthur is based on a combination of historical conjecture, literary tradition, and archaeological investigation. The connection between these sites and Arthur should be seen as a possibility rather than an established fact. Furthermore, it is essential to consider that these sites could have held their own significance and played important roles within the political and social landscapes of the time, independent of the Arthurian legend. The high-status nature of Tintagel and the strategic position of Cadbury Castle may have made them centers of power and activity during the early medieval period, regardless of their connection to Arthur. Archaeology allows us to explore and understand these sites within their broader historical context, shedding light on the complexities of the era in which the Arthurian legend emerged. Chapter 6: Arthur as a symbol of resistance. Even if King Arthur himself did not exist as a historical figure, the legend of Arthur has endured as a powerful symbol of resistance against foreign invaders during a tumultuous period in British history. The Arthurian myth, with its tales of valor, honor, and the pursuit of justice, provided hope and inspiration to the people of Britain, promoting a sense of national identity and the ideal of a united and resilient nation. The period traditionally associated with King Arthur's reign, the 5th and 6th centuries, was marked by significant political and military upheaval in Britain. The decline of the Roman Empire in the early 5th century and the subsequent withdrawal of Roman authority left the British Isles vulnerable to invasion and colonization by various Germanic tribes, such as the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes. These invaders gradually established their own kingdoms, displacing and assimilating the native Britons. In this context, the Arthurian myth emerged as a powerful narrative of resistance against the encroaching forces. The legend depicted Arthur as a noble and courageous leader who rallied the Britons in their fight against the Saxon invaders. The tales of Arthur's victories and his defense of the land against foreign threats provided a source of inspiration and a rallying cry for those seeking to reclaim or preserve their British identity. The Arthurian myth offered a vision of a united Britain, transcending regional differences and bringing together diverse factions under a common cause. Arthur's legendary court at Camelot, with its Knights of the Round Table representing equality and fairness, embodied the ideal of a just and harmonious society. The myth emphasized the importance of loyalty, honor, and the pursuit of noble ideals, fostering a sense of national identity and shared purpose among the Britons. Furthermore, the legend of Arthur provided solace and hope during times of adversity. The tales of Arthur's exploits, often steeped in mythical and magical elements, offered a narrative of triumph against overwhelming odds. They served as a reminder that even in the face of adversity, resistance was possible, and that the spirit of Arthur and his knights would endure as an inspiration for generations to come. The Arthurian myth's enduring popularity and its ability to resonate with successive generations can be attributed to its ability to tap into universal themes and aspirations. The legend spoke to the desire for justice, the longing for a united and harmonious society, and the yearning for a heroic leader who would protect the land and its people. Chapter 7: Medieval Romances and Literary Tradition. During the Middle Ages, the Arthurian legend experienced a remarkable flourishing, particularly with the emergence of chivalric romances. These works of literature, often composed in verse or prose, played a significant role in popularizing the tales of King Arthur and his knights, further solidifying the legend's place in the literary canon and shaping the collective imagination of the era. One of the most influential authors in the development of the Arthurian romances was Chrétien de Troyes, a French poet of the 12th century. Chrétien's works, including Eric and Enid, Clyges, Yvain, the Knight of the Lion, and Lancelot, the Knight of the Cart, introduced key characters and narrative elements that would become iconic in the Arthurian tradition. Chrétien's romances often depicted Arthur as a wise and just king, presiding over a court of noble knights who exemplified the ideals of chivalry, courtly love, and honor. His writings introduced characters such as Lancelot, the epitome of courtly love, and the complex love triangle involving Lancelot, Guinevere, and Arthur. Through Chrétien's romances, the Arthurian legend became intertwined with the themes of love, adventure, and the pursuit of noble ideals. Another significant work in the Arthurian tradition is Sir Thomas Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur, written in the late 15th century. Malory's work, compiled from various sources and Arthurian tales, served as a comprehensive retelling of the Arthurian legend. Le Morte d'Arthur presented a cohesive narrative of Arthur's life, from his birth to his final battle and demise. It showcased the exploits of Arthur's knights, including Gawain, Percival, and Galahad, and delved into the complexities of their relationships and the challenges they faced. Malory's work became immensely popular, and his retelling of the Arthurian legend became the standard reference for subsequent writers and storytellers. The influence of these medieval romances cannot be overstated in terms of shaping the perception and development of the Arthurian legend. Through the skillful storytelling and imaginative embellishments of authors like Chrétien de Troyes and Thomas Malory, the legend became an integral part of the literary tradition of the Middle Ages. These romances captivated audiences, transcending social classes and geographical boundaries, and were often read aloud in courtly and noble circles. The impact of the Arthurian romances extended beyond the realm of literature. They influenced visual arts, inspiring intricate tapestries, illuminated manuscripts, and artistic depictions of Arthurian themes. The tales of Arthur and his knights provided moral and ethical guidelines, shaping the ideals of knighthood and courtly behavior. The romanticized version of King Arthur and his chivalric code had a profound influence on the aspirations and conduct of medieval knights, reinforcing the values of courage, loyalty, and devotion to honor. However, it is important to note that the Arthurian romances, while contributing to the legend's popularity, also blurred the line between fact and fiction. The imaginative elements, magical elements, and the focus on courtly love and adventure introduced by the authors created a distinct literary tradition that often departed from the historical context in which Arthur may have existed, if he did at all. The works of Chrétien de Troyes, Thomas Malory, and other medieval writers were more concerned with the themes of love, heroism, and idealized knighthood than with historical accuracy. Chapter 8, Conclusion. In the quest to uncover the historical truth behind the legend of King Arthur, we encounter a complex tapestry of historical records, literary traditions, and cultural symbolism. The elusive nature of the historical evidence for the existence of a singular King Arthur complicates our understanding of the figure's true origins. However, despite the lack of concrete proof, the enduring power of the Arthurian legend remains undeniable. The Arthurian mythos, with its tales of knights, quests, and the search for a utopian realm, has captured the imagination of people for centuries. Whether rooted in historical fact or emerging from the depths of folklore, King Arthur's legend has transcended time and reality, taking on a symbolic significance that extends far beyond mere historical inquiry. The legend has become a vessel for the enduring human quest for greatness, the preservation of noble ideals, and the aspiration for a better world. Throughout history, the legend of King Arthur has served as a source of inspiration, offering a moral compass and a vision of chivalry and honor. From the early Celtic sources and the writings of Geoffrey of Monmouth to the medieval romances of Chrétien de Troyes and Thomas Malory, the Arthurian myth has evolved and been shaped by various authors and cultural contexts. These contributions, whether based on historical realities or imaginative embellishments, have enriched the legend, transforming it into a multifaceted symbol that resonates with different societies and epochs. While the search for the historical Arthur continues, it is essential to acknowledge the inherent complexities and limitations of the historical inquiry. The scarcity of contemporary records, the interplay between history and myth, and the evolution of the Arthurian legend through the ages all contribute to the challenge of separating fact from fiction. Yet, the pursuit of historical authenticity should not overshadow the enduring cultural significance and the enduring power of the Arthurian legend as a symbol of human aspirations and ideals. More information and facts. Part 1: Cultural and National Identity. Cultural and national identity. The Arthurian legend has become deeply ingrained in the cultural and national identity of the British Isles. Its influence has transcended time, shaping perceptions of a unique British heritage and a shared past. The legend has been embraced as a symbol of national unity, promoting a sense of British identity both within the British Isles and on an international scale. The association between the Arthurian legend and British identity can be traced back to the medieval period, when the tales of King Arthur were woven into the fabric of British literature, folklore, and historical consciousness. During this time, the Arthurian legend became an integral part of the cultural landscape, permeating every aspect of society, from the noble courts to the common folk. The tales of Arthur and his knights epitomized the ideals of chivalry, honor, and noble conduct, which were considered quintessentially British virtues. As the Arthurian legend gained popularity and spread throughout Europe, it became intertwined with notions of British exceptionalism and the idea of a glorious past. The legend portrayed Britain as a land of heroes, a place where great feats were accomplished and noble values upheld. This connection between the Arthurian legend and British identity was further solidified during the Tudor era, when King Henry VII and King Henry VIII sought to establish a prestigious lineage that traced back to King Arthur, thereby enhancing their own legitimacy as rulers. The Arthurian legend's influence on British cultural and national identity continued to grow in subsequent centuries. It became an integral part of the British literary tradition, with authors such as Edmund Spenser, John Milton, and Alfred, Lord Tennyson drawing inspiration from the Arthurian tales in their works. The imagery, themes, and characters from the legend permeated British literature, shaping the national literary canon. Moreover, the legend's association with British identity extended beyond literature. It found expression in various forms of artistic representation, from paintings and sculptures to stained glass windows and tapestries. The Arthurian imagery adorned the halls of castles, churches, and stately homes, reinforcing the notion of a proud and noble British heritage. In the 19th and 20th centuries, the Arthurian legend experienced a resurgence in popularity, further cementing its place in British cultural consciousness. The Pre-Raphaelite movement, with artists like Dante Gabriel Rossetti and Edward Burne-Jones, embraced the Arthurian tales as a means of reconnecting with a romanticized past and reviving national traditions. The Arthurian legend also captured the imagination of scholars, such as Sir John Rhys and Sir Arthur Evans, who sought to uncover the historical roots of the myth. On an international level, the Arthurian legend has played a crucial role in promoting British identity and culture. The tales of King Arthur and his knights have been translated into numerous languages and have been embraced by cultures around the world. The legend has become a symbol of British heritage, evoking images of knights in shining armor, medieval castles, and a bygone era of chivalry. Part 2: Influence on Literature and Art. The Arthurian legend has left an indelible mark on literature and art throughout history. From ancient times to the present day, the legend has inspired countless works across various genres, serving as a wellspring of creativity and a source of timeless themes. The richness of the Arthurian mythos has captivated the imaginations of writers, poets, playwrights, and artists, resulting in a diverse and vast body of artistic expression. The influence of the Arthurian legend on literature can be traced back to its earliest written sources, such as the Welsh texts and Geoffrey of Monmouth's Historia Regum Britanniae. These texts provided the foundation for subsequent literary adaptations and interpretations. One of the most influential periods for Arthurian literature was the medieval era, when the legend was retold and expanded upon in chivalric romances. These romances, composed by authors like Chrétien de Troyes and Wolfram von Eschenbach, popularized the Arthurian tales across Europe, shaping the narrative conventions and themes associated with the legend. The impact of the Arthurian legend on literature continued to resonate throughout the centuries. In the Renaissance, authors such as Edmund Spenser and John Milton drew upon the Arthurian tradition in their works, infusing their poetry and epic writings with Arthurian motifs and themes. Spenser's The Faerie Queene drew heavily from the Arthurian legends, weaving together allegorical elements and chivalric ideals. Milton's Paradise Lost incorporated Arthurian imagery and symbolism to convey epic grandeur and explore themes of heroism and redemption. In the Romantic period of the 19th century, the Arthurian legend experienced a resurgence in popularity. The Romantics, including Lord Byron, Percy Bysshe Shelley, and Alfred, Lord Tennyson, were captivated by the mystique of the Arthurian tales and their associations with heroism, passion, and the supernatural. Tennyson, in particular, made a significant contribution to the Arthurian literary tradition with his collection of poems titled Idylls of the King. This work presented a comprehensive retelling of the Arthurian legend, weaving together elements of myth, history, and spirituality. The 20th and 21st centuries have witnessed a continued fascination with the Arthurian legend in literature. Modern authors have embraced the mythos, incorporating Arthurian themes into a wide range of genres, from historical fiction to fantasy and science fiction. The Arthurian legend has served as a wellspring of inspiration for acclaimed writers like T.H. White, The Once and Future King, Marion Zimmer Bradley, The Mists of Avalon, and Bernard Cornwell, The Warlord Chronicles. These authors have reimagined the Arthurian tales, exploring their psychological depths, moral complexities, and contemporary relevance. Artists, too, have been captivated by the Arthurian mythos, creating stunning visual representations in paintings, sculptures, and illustrations. From the exquisite medieval illuminations of the Arthurian romances to the grandiose paintings of the Pre-Raphaelites, the legend has provided a wealth of imagery and narrative material. Artists such as Dante Gabriel Rossetti, Edward Burne-Jones, and Gustave Doré have immortalized the characters and scenes of the Arthurian tales, capturing their beauty, drama, and mythic resonance. The Arthurian legend has continued to inspire contemporary artists as well, with illustrators, comic book artists, and filmmakers drawing upon its visual potential and dramatic narrative. Part 3: Symbolism and Allegory. The Arthurian legend extends beyond its surface narrative to encompass rich symbolism and allegorical meanings. The characters, settings, and quests within the legend can be interpreted as representing universal human experiences, virtues, and vices. By delving into the symbolism and allegory within the legend, we can uncover deeper layers of meaning and add depth and complexity to its interpretation. At the heart of the Arthurian legend stands King Arthur himself, who serves as a symbol of leadership and justice. Arthur embodies the ideal of a just and wise ruler, striving to create a harmonious and equitable society. As the leader of the Knights of the Round Table, Arthur promotes the values of chivalry, honor, and fairness. His position as king represents authority and the responsibility to govern with wisdom and benevolence. Arthur's quest for the Holy Grail can be seen as a metaphor for the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment and the search for higher truths. The figure of Merlin, the wise and enigmatic wizard, embodies mystical wisdom and the forces of destiny. Merlin's supernatural powers and prophetic abilities symbolize the unseen forces that shape human lives and guide individuals on their respective paths. He represents the interplay between fate and free will, offering guidance and insight to Arthur and the knights. Merlin's association with magic and his ability to see beyond the immediate present add an element of mystery and depth to the legend. The Lady of the Lake is another character who carries significant symbolism within the Arthurian legend. As the guardian of Excalibur, the mythical sword of Arthur, she represents the connection between the natural world and the mystical realm. The Lady of the Lake embodies the feminine principle, symbolizing the nurturing and transformative aspects of nature. She is often associated with the themes of rebirth and renewal, offering Arthur the tools and wisdom necessary for his role as king. The quest for the Holy Grail is a central theme in Arthurian legend, and its symbolism extends beyond religious connotations. The Holy Grail represents a search for spiritual enlightenment, inner purity, and personal transformation. It serves as a metaphorical vessel for attaining higher knowledge, moral integrity, and a deeper understanding of the self. The knight's quest for the Holy Grail reflects the human yearning for meaning and transcendence, as they strive to overcome personal flaws and confront moral challenges. The symbolism and allegory within the Arthurian legend are not limited to characters alone. The settings, such as Camelot and Avalon, carry symbolic significance as well. Camelot, Arthur's court, symbolizes a utopian realm where ideals of chivalry, justice, and harmony are embodied. It represents an idealized society governed by noble principles. Avalon, on the other hand, represents a mystical realm, often associated with healing and rebirth. It serves as a metaphorical realm beyond the mortal world, a place of transcendence and spiritual fulfillment. Exploring the symbolism and allegory within the Arthurian legend adds layers of depth and complexity to its interpretation. It allows for a deeper understanding of the universal themes and moral lessons conveyed through the tales. The characters, settings, and quests within the legend can be seen as archetypes and metaphors that resonate with the human experience. By examining the symbolic elements, we can appreciate the profound insights and timeless wisdom embedded within the legend, offering lessons and reflections on the human condition. Part 4: Continuation and Adaptation. The Arthurian legend has demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability, continuing to evolve and captivate audiences in modern times. It has been reimagined and reinvented in various forms, including stage plays, films, television series, and even video games. Each new adaptation brings a fresh interpretation and perspective to the legend, reflecting the ever-changing cultural and social contexts in which it is retold. Examining the contemporary adaptations of the Arthurian legend provides valuable insights into its enduring appeal and its ability to resonate with audiences today. One of the earliest forms of adaptation can be seen in stage plays during the Elizabethan and Jacobean eras. Playwrights like William Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe drew inspiration from the Arthurian legend, incorporating elements of the mythos into their works. Shakespeare's play King Lear can be seen as a reinterpretation of the Arthurian story, exploring themes of power, betrayal, and redemption. The character of Cordelia, with her steadfast loyalty and tragic fate, resonates with the noble virtues associated with the Arthurian tradition. In the realm of literature, the 19th and 20th centuries witnessed a proliferation of Arthurian adaptations. Writers such as Mark Twain, a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court, and T.H. White, the once and future king, offered their own imaginative takes on the legend, infusing it with their unique perspectives and thematic concerns. Twain's work presented a satirical and comedic approach, while White's novel provided a comprehensive retelling of the Arthurian story, exploring themes of power, war, and the quest for personal and societal transformation. The realm of film and television has also been a fertile ground for Arthurian adaptations. From classic films like John Boorman's Excalibur, 1981, to more recent productions like Guy Ritchie's King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, 2017, filmmakers have approached the legend with varying degrees of historical accuracy and artistic license. These adaptations often reflect the contemporary sensibilities and narrative preferences of their respective eras. They may emphasize action, romance, or political intrigue, and may even incorporate elements of fantasy and magic to heighten the drama and spectacle. Television series have also embraced the Arthurian legend, offering long-form narratives that delve into the complexities of the mythos. Notable examples include the BBC series Merlin, 2008 to 2012, and the Netflix series Cursed, 2020. These adaptations explore the characters and themes of the legend through multi-episode story arcs, allowing for more nuanced character development and a deeper exploration of the socio-political dynamics of Arthurian Britain. The rise of digital media has opened up new possibilities for the adaptation of the Arthurian legend. Video games, such as the King Arthur series and the role-playing game The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt, provide interactive experiences that allow players to immerse themselves in the world of Arthurian mythology. These adaptations offer a unique blend of storytelling, visual aesthetics, and player agency, providing a new way for audiences to engage with the legend. The contemporary adaptations of the Arthurian legend reflect the ongoing fascination with its timeless themes and archetypal characters. They also reflect the cultural and social concerns of their respective times. These adaptations can serve as a lens through which we can understand the shifting values, ideologies, and aspirations of contemporary society. They highlight the enduring appeal of the legend and its ability to be reimagined and reinterpreted in ways that resonate with the present-day audience. Part 5: Historical Context and Social Commentary. The Arthurian legend, despite the debate surrounding the historical existence of King Arthur, offers valuable glimpses into the social, political, and cultural dynamics of the times in which it originated and developed. Exploring the historical context in which the legend emerged provides insights into the concerns, aspirations, and values of the societies that shaped the Arthurian mythos. Additionally, the legend has been used as a platform for social commentary, addressing various issues such as gender roles, power dynamics, and the consequences of excessive ambition. The origins of the Arthurian legend can be traced back to the period of transition and upheaval following the decline of the Roman Empire in Britain and the influx of various Germanic tribes. This era, often associated with the 5th and 6th centuries, was marked by political instability, conflicts between native Britons and invading Saxons, and the struggle for power and dominance. The Arthurian legend, with its emphasis on Arthur as a leader who united the Britons against their enemies, reflects the concerns and aspirations of this tumultuous period. The legend of King Arthur emerged in a time when social and political structures were changing, and new forms of authority were being established. The depiction of Arthur as a just and wise ruler, surrounded by a loyal fellowship of knights, offered a vision of leadership and governance that resonated with the aspirations of the times. The legend conveyed ideals of justice, chivalry, and the pursuit of a harmonious society. It served as a counterbalance to the social and political turmoil of the era, providing a sense of stability and moral guidance. Furthermore, the Arthurian legend has often been used as a platform for social commentary, addressing issues that were relevant to the societies in which it was retold and reimagined. Gender roles, for instance, are a prominent theme within the legend. Characters such as Guinevere and Morgan Le Fay challenge traditional notions of femininity, displaying agency, independence, and the ability to shape their own destinies. Guinevere's love affair with Lancelot and the resulting conflict serve as a commentary on the complexities of romantic relationships and the consequences of passion and betrayal. Power dynamics and the consequences of excessive ambition are also explored within the Arthurian legend. The character of Mordred, Arthur's illegitimate son and eventual nemesis, represents the corrupting influence of unchecked ambition and the destructive consequences of power struggles. The story of the sword in the stone, where only the rightful king can draw the sword, addresses the concept of legitimate authority and the dangers of usurping power. The Arthurian legend reflects the values and concerns of the societies in which it was shaped, offering a lens through which we can understand their aspirations, fears, and moral dilemmas. The legend's enduring appeal lies in its ability to speak to timeless human themes and to provide a commentary on the social, political, and cultural dynamics of its time. As the legend continues to evolve and adapt, it reflects the changing concerns and values of contemporary society, offering new avenues for social commentary and exploration of relevant issues. We've now reached the end of our journey today. Thank you for letting the tales of old be your backdrop, and remember, history isn't just about the past, it's about understanding our present and shaping our future.